Time to wake up. It's Saturday morning. Find some milk and cereal. Grab a bowl and spoon. No, a bigger spoon. Head to the living room and take a seat on the floor while Joseph and Chris present to you Saturday Morning Cartoon!
Hello everybody and welcome to Saturday Morning Cartoon Boom. This is a show where we plop down on the living room floor with a big bowl of cereal and watch all your favorite cartoons, both old and new. I'm Joseph.
And I'm Chris.
And today we watched Shin Chan, as recommended by our pal Sara from @BDH Workshop on Twitter.
Thanks, Sara.
Yeah, thanks, Sara. Oh man, how to go into this one? Okay, well, Shin Chan was originally Crayon Shin Chan, which started in 1992 and is still presently going on in Japan. Not so much the US, though. Created by Yoshito Usui, it aired for 3 seasons in America, but currently it's at episode 879 in Japan. So,
holy cow.
Yeah. It was originally introduced to the US on the Kiku network in Hawaii until 2001, but the license was acquired by Funimation in 2005. What the majority of us would have seen it on was Cartoon Network's Adult Swim from 2006 to 2009. Funimation continued releasing the series in DVD format until 2011, ending their version of the series with season 3. So, for a short synopsis, it's about a 5-year-old kid named Shin Chan who is always creating havoc with people around him. He also has a taste for older women. That's the synopsis.
That's not wrong.
No, not incorrect.
Yeah, what a cartoon this was. This is interesting. And from reading it, I mean, I had a lot of trouble figuring out the right episodes because, well, for one, I think it's had 3 different casts voicing it because I know there's the cast from Japan. It was dubbed into English, and then I think the first version was not used. And then when Funimation got it, didn't they redub it a second time with a new cast?
Yeah, it was redubbed by Funimation with a different cast.
It's a woman that's voicing Shin Chan in the version that we watched, and that is Laura Bailey, who is my favorite voiceover actress in the business. She does a whole lot of cool stuff, lots of cartoons, lots of video games. She's also a big part of Geek and Sundry. So if you go to Geek and Sundry, you will see her on like all kinds of their shows. You'll see her on Titan's Grave. They've got a show where they do all these voice actors playing Dungeons and Dragons together and all kinds of stuff. She'll be in all of that stuff. She's really funny, really talented. So I was really excited to see that she was part of this one. The other confusing part was that the episodes, when they were dubbed in America, they did it out of order. So an episode in Japan, which might have been made of these certain segments, might not be the same segments over here. So I wasn't sure if like some of the episode names that we're looking at might not be the same depending on what version we watched. So I'm pretty sure at least one of the segments was correct. One of them or 2 of the others might have been different. I don't know. It's really hard to say.
Yeah, I mean, this is going based off of what we watched, which was the Funimation version on Hulu Plus. So the way that they generally air, at least from my understanding and what I saw, was it's 3 roughly 6 to 7 minute episodes a piece per episode. So let me pull a few floaters out of our bowls here and talk about some of the show's marshmallows. Nice. So it's based off Yoshito's manga of the same name, which started in 1990 and only ran until 2010. And unfortunately, the creator Yoshito Usui passed away in 2009, which is why the manga was discontinued. And Shin Chan is a worldwide phenomenon, really. It's aired all over the place, all over the world in different countries. Numerous video games, primarily released in Japan. There's some smartphone games even, and at least 24 different movies based on Shin Chan.
Wow.
24.
I had no idea there was that much.
And that's probably me being conservative. I'm not even sure. I don't know what's a special, what's an actual full-length movie. Like, this thing is hugely popular in Japan.
It's almost like an adult version of like Peanuts or something like that.
Yeah, that you can kind of look at it that way. Because it is still going on. Like I said, 879 episodes, and that's not splitting the episodes apart like, oh, it's counting, the 3 episodes in each episode as an episode. It's counting every single episode with all 3 parts as a single episode. So 879 multiplied
like 3 or 4.
roughly by 2 or 3 at least, and that's an absurd amount of content.
That's crazy. Imagine like how much writing has to go in. How do they keep coming up with ideas?
I have no idea.
I guess it's a better comparison actually probably to like The Simpsons, because one thing straight up, if there's any younger listeners that actually listen to our show, this is definitely a show that's intended for adults. Like, I would say late teens and up is what it's intended for.
Definitely.
So,
it is TVMA. So just to preface that.
Lots of language, lots of very adult-themed humor. So
definitely. So what are your memories of this show, Chris? Do you have any?
I do. I watched it a couple of times, and it was like you were talking about. I saw it on Adult Swim on Cartoon Network several years ago. I think it was around the time that they actually had just gotten it, because I remember them doing, like, they had ran commercials for it for several weeks before they actually showed the cartoon. I guess, like, just letting people know it's coming. And I was like, what is this? This looks really stupid. It's just a little kid. Like, why are they putting this on Adult Swim? Because they didn't market the kind of humor very well until the show actually started. So it was like one of those shows that I think came on in my time zone. I think it came on at like 1 a.m. on Adult Swim. I watched it. I thought it was pretty funny. I had only seen a couple episodes, so I didn't have a whole lot to judge from it. And it was around the time that I moved from the place I was in and didn't have cable after that, so I kind of fell off the train pretty quick and just never picked it back up.
Yeah, it's kind of the same for me. I mean, actually, I never really saw any episodes of it, and honestly, I knew what Shin Chan looked like based on the fact that I had seen him around, and I had heard that it was a pretty dirty show, but it was one of those things where no one ever set me down and was like, you have to watch this. So right. I just never did. I wasn't avoiding it. It just, the timing just wasn't right for me. I came into the episodes that we watched completely clean, and I left feeling a little bit dirty.
Right. I'm Sarah, thank you for recommending this, because when I watched this, I think I texted you immediately and was like, this is the funniest thing ever. You're going to love it.
Yeah.
And I just kept like taking little video shots of the stuff I was watching it and sending it to you and our friend Jim, because I was just laughing so hard. The very first joke of the first episode had me laughing so hard. Here's one thing, like if you are easily offended, this is not the show for you.
Oh, absolutely not.
Like that is the show's bread and butter, is that it's like that offensive kind of humor, is that like there will be racial jokes, there will be a lot of sexual jokes, things like that.
But they pick on everything and everyone, so it's not singling anyone out.
And the first joke was pretty much a Jew joke, which I can appreciate because I'm like half Jew, so I was laughing hysterically just within the first minute.
Oh yeah. Without further ado, let's just go ahead and dive into 3 episodes that we watched for today's show. The very first episode, the highest rated episode, and finally the listener recommended episode in this case, which was recommended by Sarah. And it was a good one, so thank you, Sarah. But we will jump into that right now. First episode was P-Strike, Season 1, Episode 1. And it contained the 3 episodes, Shin's Allowance, A Very Wrong Engagement, and Loopy in the Sky with Demons. So starting with Shin's Allowance, we can go ahead and... Well, actually, let me start with the beginning, because the opening is hilarious. I mean,
it's amazing.
Not even hilarious, it's just great. It's enough without going overboard. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then Samurai Pigs fighting, I guess. I don't know exactly, for about 3 seconds. Then it just shouts Shin Chan, and then the episode starts. That's all you need.
Right. Definitely. It's great. And some of the other iterations of Shin Chan, the other versions, this episode is not the first episode like in Japan and the original version that America was going to get. This segment was not the first one we were going to get. I see why they put this one first, because this was a great introduction and probably one of my favorite episodes out of the ones that we saw. And it was just like the sense of humor is just right off the bat. It's right there in your face, and it's hilarious. Like, it just starts out with these 2 kids on a swing set. The one kid is just talking about allowance, asks another kid what he gets. He's like, oh yeah, I get allowance, I get like stock options and stuff. And the other kid goes, are your parents doctors, lawyers, or Jews? And oh my gosh, I was laughing hysterically. That's the very first like 2 lines of the show. It's perfect.
It starts you off right. And right. This whole episode, this whole mini episode anyway, is about Shin Chan Nohara trying to get allowance from his family because he doesn't receive any currently.
And one thing I did want to mention, Shin Chan's butt is always out.
Oh yeah.
He's always pulling his pants down, his butt's hanging out. It's like his trademark.
His calling card, yeah.
His calling card. His butt is always out.
Something A comment that I really liked, or a quote that I really liked, was from Shin Chan's mom. That was like, when he asked her for allowance, she just said, "You just wasted on kitty crap, like trading cards, video games, and crystal meth."
Right?
And they just say it. They just say it so straight.
Right. And they're constantly like cursing towards each other and stuff, but they keep it really subtle. You know, they just say it in like just regular conversation, like things like that. Like, oh, it's just, you know, kid stuff like crystal meth. Those jokes, there's so many of them. If you're not paying attention, you're not going to catch them because they say it just like normal conversation. And I love that about this show. It's so funny.
Mm-hmm. Anything else to point out about the first part of this episode?
So basically, this is just all about how he says he's not going to pee again. Until he gets an allowance.
He goes on pee strike.
His mom's just kind of like, that's fine. So it doesn't work out. And it gets so dramatic. It's hilarious that like he just takes it so far. And just one more joke from this segment that gives you the flavor of humor of this is at one point his mom says, "Is it too late to have an abortion?"
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh, God. Good stuff.
So let's jump to the second part, which was a very wrong engagement.
Yeah, okay, this one was really funny, and this whole thing was about
homosexuality, essentially, but misunderstood, not even misinterpreted homosexuality.
Right. There's this kid, Maso, has a crush on this girl who has a thing for Shin Chan, who Shin Chan doesn't even really notice.
Well, because he has a thing for older women.
Yeah, and Maso gets jealous, and then he's trying to propose a fight to Shin Chan, like he wants to fight him. Shin Chan thinks he's proposing and like is going to his teachers, and he's like, you know, someone wants to knock boots with me and all this stuff, and the teachers are freaking out. Well, the one teacher keeps I'm not going to say what she keeps saying.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to offend anybody. My favorite quote of the entire cartoon here, and kids do not repeat this at home.
I think I know what you're going to say, but go ahead.
This girl blows a kiss to Shin Chan, and Maso freaks out. He's like, oh my gosh, a kiss. That's the best thing a girl can blow. I mean, like, you know, anyone teenage and up will understand what they're really meaning there, and it's funny. I was not expecting that, and I loved that joke.
I also liked where this took place, where the, you know, proposed fight was going to take place, which was Horse Poo Park, and it had that horse pee fountain. Yeah,
it was like a statue of the bottom half of a horse
with poop
upside down, with its like hooves sticking up in the air, and just the fountain water's coming out of the end, and I can't tell if it's supposed to be pee or if it's supposed to be like diarrhea shooting out. But
yeah, that's hard to say, but the statue that's at the front of Horse Poo Park has the horse's butt, and it's got a big pile of poop at the bottom of it.
Yeah. It was hilarious. So one thing that I really caught on to in this episode is that the kids of this show, even though they're cursing, they're saying things like adults, they use some of the language adults use, but they're still super naive in that childlike kind of way. And it actually makes kind of sense. I mean, at first I thought it was really weird that they had this kid and he gets naked all the time. He's always running around naked doing stuff. And they don't shy away from it. They will show this kid naked. And at first I was like, okay, this is kind of weird. But then I'm like, you know what? Little kids do that all the time. They don't understand. So in a way, like as weird as it seems at first, it actually does kind of make some sense.
All right, so the very last part of episode 1 is Loopy in the Sky with Demons, and it's about Shin Chan being sick.
Yeah, so there's not like, I feel like there's not a whole lot to say about this one. It was enjoyable, but the whole thing was kind of like a hallucination. Shin's got a fever. He's hallucinating and just kind of having a dream while his parents are trying to get his fever down.
He's hallucinating about this like fire being...
Like fire demon thing.
Yeah, I can't remember, a red hot something. I can't remember what he called it. He teamed up with one of his favorite TV shows, Action Bastard.
I love that the superhero's name is Action Bastard. That's so funny.
And antics ensue. Like you said, there really wasn't a lot to this episode. It was funny, but it wasn't anything to really point out a lot of different things.
The fire demon started farting flames at them.
Yeah, there was that. They walked into a sticky buns shop to try to cool off, but it turned out that it was sumo wrestler buns, and they were sticky buns.
It's a lot of potty humor in this show.
Oh, yeah. That's the whole show.
It's funny. Oh, the end song that they play is super catchy. I was just going to just throw that out there that I enjoyed the song.
Or it's just party, party, join us, party, party, join us, just over and over again.
Yeah.
It has other lyrics to it.
It's almost like an Andrew WK song. Well, and then it breaks down into this woman like really singing something really pretty like after so many seconds. But it's a catchy song. I liked it.
It is catchy. Intro and closing both were really strong.
I agree.
So let's jump into the highest rated episode, which is the next one. Gratuitous Child Nudity, Season 1, Episode 20. The 3 portions of this episode were Bed, Bath, and Pudon, Planet of the Dogs, and then Planet of the Dogs Part 2, Holy Shih Tzu.
This was ridiculous. You know, I liked the first segment a lot. I enjoyed that one. And it was different in that it wasn't as out there as some of the other episodes, especially the other 2 in this episode. But it's essentially the dad comes home from work and he's subtly making jokes about how terrible his life is. Even says something at one point, like some subtle joke about maybe I should have jumped off that train or something like that.
Well, he takes or puts down his briefcase of defeat, takes off his coat of misery, and then he called his tie some kind of chain. I can't remember what it was. So
you get the feeling that the dad kind of doesn't really care for his life much, but they still make it funny. I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's one of those things I guess you have to see and hear, but basically this whole episode is him trying to get the kids into the bathtub.
Yeah, I like where, before it even starts, where the mom's like, you need to give them a bath. And he said, the kids don't smell too much like feces tonight.
Right, and then the mom, she's chopping some zucchini right now, and she slams a knife down and just kind of says, this knife is sharp. Cuts into any zucchini-shaped object really well.
Yeah.
And like gives the dad this look, and he's like, ah! You can guess at what she's getting to there.
Oh, yeah.
So
and then
basically saying he better get those kids a bath.
Yeah, and so a lot of the episode is the dad chasing down the younger daughter to get her into the bathtub. And what I liked about this episode was how they paralleled it with the crime drama show that was on TV. I thought that was really interesting.
It was very clever. It was cleverly done. It brought a level of intellectual thinking and stuff like that I hadn't seen in this show yet.
Yeah, actual storytelling elements as opposed to just dirty joke after dirty joke.
Exactly. Like, so, they kind of showed that the writers can do more than just the dirty jokes and stuff like that. So I appreciated that. It was good insight on some of the rest of this show. But then they do get in the tub, and of course, the little girl, we don't know if she poops or something else in there, but she does something in the tub eventually.
I'm pretty sure she poops, given the name of the episode.
Well, at first someone said code brown, but then I think Shin said it might be a code green. Like I was saying before, they don't shy away from nudity with these kids at all. Especially the thing that Shin plays with in the corner of the bathroom.
Yeah, that one was so weird. My dad's like, what are you doing? He's like, just pinching and tugging. It's like, oh my gosh. I was kind of shocked when I saw that. I didn't expect to see that. I was
kind of surprised they could do that and still put it on TV.
Yeah, and especially that being one of the episodes that Funimation pulled. I was like, wow, okay.
Really.
Moving on to the next part of this episode, which is actually a 2-parter in the same episode, Planet of the Dogs.
Both parts were pretty good, and we could probably just talk about them as a whole.
Oh, yeah.
Why don't you explain what the premise of this one was?
So the premise is essentially Shin is walking his dog, Whitey, and at the same time recording video of him as he's walking him, but kind of mistreating him in a way, like, tugging him on a leash and teasing him with food that he's not going to give him.
Oh, and the whole time he's trying to film Whitey's butthole.
Oh, yeah. Trying to film his butt. And then what happens is like a doghouse from outer space comes and abducts them, supposedly, and takes them to some sort of a dog planet, which is obviously led by dogs. And Whitey starts to talk, and he is now the owner sort of Shin Chan, who is naked and has a collar on and is being treated like a pet.
Whitey is British.
Oh, yeah. They all have to be British because the Queen likes the BBC.
Yes. And what's the Queen's name?
Her Royal Bitchness.
I think we can say that because, one, it's referring to a dog, and two, it's a name.
That's true. It is a proper usage of it.
So I think we can get away with that one.
I won't bleep it out. I'll see what happens.
All right. So, one, that's funny. That is a funny joke.
Yeah.
So there's this one dog. I don't remember his name, but there's one dog that's kind of evil.
Oru or Uro or something like that.
Yeah, you find out that he's plotting against the bitchness. that he wants to take over. So basically that's Shin's way out of this world, is basically kind of revealing that guy's plan. There was one real funny joke at first where the bitchness is first presented with Shin and has him taken away, and he wants to do something. I don't remember exactly what. The bitchness doesn't really need his help at the time, so he goes, well, if you don't need me, I'll be upstairs licking my testicles.
Yeah.
The camera pulls away, but you hear Shin say, hey, can you teach me how to do that?
Yeah. And they also had a lot of course, dog puns. Like,
oh, lots.
I don't even know if puns so much, just the replacement of dog with everything that would be human. Like, oh, the dogmanity, or oh, my dog, or things like that.
Exactly. Oh, Shin gets renamed Stinky Butt.
Oh, yeah, Shin is that's his dog name is Stinky Butt. Something at the end of the first portion of this episode was the double sons, where someone was like, you do know that George Lucas will sue our pants off for this shot, right?
Right. Yes. I like that. That was a great...
Yeah, good Star Wars reference.
Yeah, that was a good reference. The way that Shin escapes this world is basically to try to prove that this other dog was going to take over. He presents his video that he was taking on his video camera, and he says that he recorded the guy. He was basically... The dog was talking to another dog about what they're going to do, giving them the plan. Shin recorded it on video, and then he tries to present it to, the court, essentially, and the bitchness, and... The video instead starts it's the film of Whitey's butt.
Yeah.
Poor Whitey's freaking out trying to turn it off.
Yeah. But then I like how he comes back later when they're fighting Oru. Whitey comes back and was like, the nudity in the movie was an essential part of the script.
Right. That was good. So yeah, it comes down to like a sword fight, except Oru has a sword, but Whitey instead just has garden shears that he's fighting. But they're hardcore fighting with these things.
Yeah.
But Shin ends up coming to Whitey's rescue using his dad's stinky sock that he tried to make Whitey smell at the very beginning of the episode. So it was a good callback to the end of the second part that closes out this story, is that he throws the stinky sock into the air and the dogs are like, no! And it pretty much defeats them.
Mm-hmm. Some good adult humor at the end there was the Queen's right-hand man. He was like, yes, boys, you should never misjudge the value of a well-groomed bush.
Oh, I forgot about that part. Lots of innuendos and stuff in this cartoon.
Even Shin comments that the dogs talk about humping a lot.
Oh, yeah. But, it's funny because, you think about dogs and they tend to do that. So it makes sense.
It does make sense in a weird, kind of twisted way. Sure.
Yes. Very much.
So now let's move on to the last episode that we reviewed, which was Irregular Tampons on Sale, Season 1, Episode 11. And this was what was chosen by Sara. And this one was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So thanks for choosing this for us, Sara. It was definitely weird. It started with Little Morphin Tranny, went on to A Bicycle Built for Pooh, and ended with The Young and the Eggless.
Yes.
So all of these episodes were really strong, I think. They were all really funny.
I agree. So the first one starts off with Shin and his dad see their new neighbor, who is a hot redheaded woman, and the dad is pretty much freaking out about it.
He tells us beforehand, after he's coming home from work from another self-esteem deflating day, that he can't wait to go lose himself in the magic of his redheaded pornography.
Right.
And so already we find out that he has a thing for redheads.
Oh, yeah. So then he sees this neighbor and he's like losing it. Like, oh my God. And Shin is too. Shin is just as infatuated. And the mom is like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Like, our neighbor's a guy. And she's very adamant it's a guy. The dad's like, no, there's no way. So the dad and Shin go over next door to talk to her, and they're trying to impress her. And what are the things that they said they do? Like, didn't he introduce himself as a UFC fighter?
Yeah. The first thing he said was that he's an ultimate fighter.
That's right.
And then I think they were going to tell her something about being astronauts or something like that.
Right, yeah. So the mom is still adamant that it's a guy. But then we see a flashback of the mom who does meet a neighbor, and the neighbor seems like a really redneck dude. So we're kind of wondering, we're like, what? Like, is it a guy, is it a girl? Is it a transvestite, as the, episode name might hint?
This episode also is the first time we kind of get hints of it a little in other episodes, but this is the first one we really see that Shin Shin does have a thing for older women.
Yeah, Shin is trying to impress her just as much as his dad is. But when they're trying to figure it out, they hear an argument going on. It sounds like a man and a woman next door fighting. So then you're like, oh, there's two of them. No wonder, they saw the wrong people.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff they were saying while they were fighting is hilarious. Oh my gosh. Shin's parents are fighting, and he goes, "Mom, Dad, stop fighting. I'm trying to hear the neighbors fight." I like that. But there's hilarious like banter just going on back and forth between everyone who's fighting. It was just amazing. Like, I was laughing so hard that I probably missed half of the dialogue.
Yeah, really, a lot of this episode was focused on really comical dialogue. One thing that I think it was at the end of the episode where Shin's mom was like, "That's it. From now on, we only talk about my hotness." And then everyone's silent and she's just like, "Say something."
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And these was something I noticed only in this episode, and it might have been shown before, was that the apartments that they live in, they're called falling apartments.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
Falling apartments.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. Makes sense.
All right, so we'll leave the rest to your imagination. You have to really go watch it to find out what really happens, and move on to the next part, which is a bicycle built for poo.
Oh, God. So this has one of my favorite jokes of the whole thing, and this joke comes up a couple times. So the mom's trying to get Shin ready for school. I guess he has a habit of not making the bus, or being almost to the point where he's going to miss the bus. And
yeah, oversleeping.
The mom is dreading the day that it happens. So she's trying to get him ready. Or at one part, he's like naked, and the mom yells to put the elephant back in its cage. Which is meaning, put your pants on, put your junk away.
Right.
But man, I kind of want to use that from now on because that's hilarious.
So he does end up being late because even though he's about to be on time, he at the last second's like, "I got to go poop." And it takes him 20 minutes. So the bus leaves without him. So what the mom ends up having to do is take Hima, who is the daughter, and Shin Chan on her bike all the way to school, which is apparently a long bike ride and up a huge hill.
She's never done it before, so she doesn't even know where to go.
No, and she is dreading this.
So she's got a map. She has Shin trying to read a map, and he's not reading it right, and they're getting lost all over the place. They eventually get to kind of a trendier neighborhood that the mom hasn't seen before, and so she's seeing all these shops and getting really excited. And then she stops at this tea shop called Tea Baggers.
Yeah. Kind
of derails the whole thing by going in there. That was pretty good.
Yeah, she's like, "Tea baggers. Sounds like a fun way to spend a day."
And more of the innuendos.
Yeah, and then she gets infatuated with the tea shop boy who comes in like, "Would you like to taste my berries?"
All right. Oh, God.
Oh, man. And then when she finally does get to the hill that she needs to go up, the way that it ties back to the name of this whole episode is some salesman shouting, "Irregular tampons for irregular vaginas." And then
she gets distracted because she knows that means her.
Yeah, she's like, "Hey, that's me." And then rolls back down the hill.
Right, she loses her momentum and rolls back down because she's trying so hard to get up this hill, and she's even telling herself, "Think muscular thoughts, think muscular thoughts." She starts getting up. Here's the tampon sale, a regular tampon sale for her irregular vagina, and she rolls back down. Turns out it was only a half day of school anyway, and by the time she rolls back down the hill, the teacher and the bus driver's coming by again. They're like, "Oh, yeah, it was a half day." And the mom is not very happy.
Something that I really liked was that they didn't offer her a ride or anything. They're just like, "All right, have fun riding back home."
Yep.
So that jumps us over to the last part of this last episode, which is the young and the eggless. Really, the premise of it is Shin's mom sees a sale for eggs in the paper and so tries to make her way over to the grocery store in order to get these eggs on sale.
Right. And as she's going, she's pushing the kids in a stroller. Well, she's pushing the little girl in the stroller. And I think Shin I don't remember what Shin's doing. Shin's at one point just hanging onto her leg.
Yeah, he's just kind of following behind, but also being a distraction and very troublesome, of course.
So she spots this, what she refers to as an American trendy mom, who also has a little girl in a stroller. And they seem to be going the same way. And she's just kind of comparing her to this woman and just kind of tearing her apart a little bit. She's not a big fan of this American trendy mom. And the little girl just cracks me up because it definitely shows you what they think of us over there. The little girl just keeps saying the word that's ghetto and stuff like that.
Mom, you're being ghetto.
Oh, man. So it kind of becomes this competition between the two where they're trying to beat each other to the store, and then they actually get to the store, and then it comes down to them. Oh, they're comparing skin because they find somebody who's using some sort of...
They find a makeup store first.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. They find, it's like some machine or something to tell, like, the age of your skin and to help it out. So this made me sad because it made me feel really old. Because the whole time, the way that they talk and the way that Shin kind of talks to his mom makes you think that the mom is older. And it turns out the mom's only 29. I'm older than she is. I'm like, what the hell?
We're older than Shin's mom.
That made me real sad. But they said something like she's got the skin of like an old leather burlap sack or
Shin
an old
says,
leather bag or something.
Shin says that her skin looks like the surface of a beat up old bag. And then the shop lady's like, oh, your skin's like that of a 25 or 26-year-old. And Shin's like, lying. And she was like, a little bit.
They make her mom seem so old. And then the American Trendy mom is just like, I just turned 18.
Yeah.
Like, well, there's another thing that they think about us.
Mm-hmm. It's not incorrect completely.
Yeah, it's not necessarily wrong. But it's kind of a funny stereotype. And it made this cartoon even funnier.
And when it comes down to once they get to the eggs and they're running for it because they're about to run out of time, it's almost it is a race now between the trendy mom and Shin's mom. And it comes down to Shin's mom having to make a choice between saving a child or getting the eggs. And I won't reveal what happens, but that's kind of the way the episode closes out. Right.
I did want to say that out of all the characters, I actually think that Shin's mom is my favorite character in this entire show.
She seems the most down to earth, the most real.
Like her jokes are hilarious because she's constantly subtly insulting everybody, and it's oh my god, I love it. I think she's honestly, Shin is funny, his dad's funny. All the characters are funny, but I think she gets some of the best lines in the show.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. She is really good. She might be my favorite also, if I'm having to choose.
Heck yeah.
Well, Chris, I think it's about time we hunt down our inner kids, hope they don't label us ghetto, and hear what they thought of Shin Chan.
All right, let me pull out my inner Chan.
Shin Chan is so funny, and I want to be like him, and I'm going to show my butt all the time, or when I'm running around naked, or I'm going to say naughty words, but then I get a spanking, and that's not really fair because he always seems to get away with it. And sometimes his dad's kind of creepy, but it's still kind of funny, and I would give it 4 butts of cereal out of 5. Butts. Joseph, it's your turn.
Thank you, Christopher, and well said, as always. As for me, I did think that the show was actually quite humorous, but definitely not appropriate for children, present company included. However, if I were to fault it for anything, it would be for the constant, unending barrage of filthy jokes. Shin Chan crosses this unspoken line over and over again of how far is too far, and by the end of every mini-episode, I would swear poop was oozing out of my ears. I felt so dirty. But I suppose that's the point. This overload aside, I did have a great time, and some of the gags were just spot on. So I ended up giving this 4 bowls of cereal out of 5 and would definitely recommend it, but only the individuals with the dirtiest of minds.
Nicely said. Now, since you two watched this show, go to your room.
Yeah. Nice job, boys. Now get ready for bath time, and remember, no more Code Brown surprises. Well, listeners, it looks like our milk supply has now run dry, so it's time for us to say goodbye. So next week, we'll be watching
Steven Universe, submitted via SoundCloud by @PeterWJ Dibble.
And once again, I'm Joseph.
And I'm Chris.
And we'll see you next Saturday. Thanks everyone for listening. If you like what you heard, please give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. Definitely reach out and let us know what cartoon you'd like us to cover, along with some of your favorite episodes so we can feature them on our show.
You can make a request, see the current request list, or speak with the show host by visiting the Cartoon Boom subreddit. You can also connect with our network by visiting nerdsloth.com or searching for Nerdsloth on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. See you next Saturday.